राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलादेवा जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय जय प्रभुपा जय जय प्रभुपा निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर ब्रह्मानंदे हरि हरि बोल ओम विष्णुपाद ब्रह्मंत प्रभुराज काचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन गेसी भक्त वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद ब्रह्मंत प्रभुराज काचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन गेसी भक्त सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नमाचर हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिर गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगमय यमुनमय की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Jai. ओम विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण विष्टाय पुत्र श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निधान नमस्ते सारस्वत देव गौरवाणी प्रचारణ विशेष शून्यवाद पंचांत देस्ता. Thank you for joining. I'm reading from Bhagavad Gita. Share the screen. Chapter 8, attaining the Supreme, verse number 9 to 13. Today's verses. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायण नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टाप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. हरि ओम तत्सत्. Reading from chapter 8, attaining the supreme, verse number 9. कविं पुराणम् अनुशासितारम् अनीयांसम् अनुस्मरेद्य सर्वस्य दातारम् अचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णम् तमसा परस्तात्. कविं पुराणम् अनुशासितारम् अनीयांसम् अनुस्मरेद्य सर्वस्य दातारम् अचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णम् तमसा परस्तात्. कविं पुराणम् अनुशासितारम् मनोरणीयांसम् अनुस्मरेद्य सर्वस्य दातारम् अचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णम् तमसा परस्तात्. Kavim, the one who knows everything. Puranam, the oldest. Anusasitaram, the controller. Ano, than the atom. Aniyamsam, smaller. Anusmaret, always thinks of. Yeah, one who. Sarvasya, of everything. Dataram, the maintainer. Achincha, inconceivable. Rupam, whose form. Aditya Varnam, luminous like the sun. Tamasa, to darkness. Parastat, transcendental. Translation by the Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun and is transcendental beyond this material nature. Please repeat. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun and is transcendental beyond this material nature. Verse number 10. प्रयाणकाले मनसा चलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषम् उपैति दिव्यम् प्रयाणकाले मनसा चलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् प्रयाणकाले मनसा चलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणम् आवेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् Prayanakale at the time of death, manasa by the mind, achalena without its being deviated, bhaktya in full devotion, yukta engaged, yoga balena by the power of mystic yoga, cha also, eva certainly, bhruvo the two eyebrows, madhye between, pranam the life air, avesya establishing, samyak completely, sa e tam that, param transcendental, purusham personality of Godhead. Upaiti achieves Divyam in the spiritual kingdom. Translation. One who, at the time of death, fixes his life hair between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Repeat. One who, at the time of death, fixes his life hair between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Verse number 11. Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Visanti Yadyatayo Vitaraga यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्षे यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागा यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्षे यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यतयो वीतरागा यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्षे. What word? Yat, that which, aksharam, syllable om, veda vidaha, a person's conversant with the Vedas, vadanti, say, vishanti, enter, yat, in which, yataya, great sages, vitaraga, in the renounced order of life, yat, that which, ichanta, desiring, brahmacharyam, celibacy, charanti, practice, tat, that, te, unto you, Padam, situation. Sangrahena, in summary. Pravakshe, I shall explain. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Please repeat. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Verse number 12. One more verse is there after this. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुद्य च मूर्ध्याद्य आदायात्मा प्राणम् आस्थितो धारणाम् सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्नि आदाय आत्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम्. First line is very important for this in this section. Sarvadvarani samyamya. Sarvadvarani samyamya manohriti niruddhya cha murdhni adaya atmana pranam astito yogadharanam. Sarvadvarani, all doors of the body. Samyamya, controlling. Mana, the mind. Hridi, in the heart. Niruddhya, confining. Cha, also. Mudni, on the head. Adaya, fixing. Atmanaha, of the soul. Pranam, the life air. Astita, situated in. Yogadharana, the yogic situation. Translation by Sri Prabhupada. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Please repeat. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Last verse of this section. Verse number 13. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran yaprayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran यप्रयाति त्यजन्देहं स याति परमां गतिम्. ॐ इति एकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यप्रयाति त्यजन्देहं स याति परमां गतिम्. Important verse also. This also. Om iti. Om, the combination of letters Om, Omkara. Iti, thus, ekaksharam, the one syllable, Brahma, absolute, Vyaharan, vibrating, Ma, me, Krishna, Anusmaran, remembering, anyone who, Prayati, leaves, Tijan, quitting, Deham, this body, Sa, he, Yati, achieves, Paramam, the supreme, Gatim, destination. Translation by Sri Prabhupada. After being situated in this yoga practice, and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Please repeat. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Okay, I will try to understand. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यईश्वरं. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्. रूप गोस्वामी रूपादि की जय, शुभपाद की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. So, we're discussing. So, chapter 8, attaining the Supreme, very important chapter, laying the ground for the rest of the chapters. And we are in the third section out of six sections. The first section is Lord Krishna answering the questions, Arjuna's 8 questions, important questions about the Brahman, Adi Atma, Adi Daiva, Adi Yajna, Prayana Kali, how one can remember, one can know Supreme Lord uh, within himself, and how to attain him. Those very important questions Arjuna is asking, and the Lord Krishna is addressing. And in the second section, last week we saw to attain the Supreme, to remember him. So, remembering at the time of death, that is the section 5 to 8. So, Lord is clearly mentioning one who remembers him, you will attain him. If one remembers something else, that's what you will attain. If he remembers demigod, that's what you will attain. If he remembers forefathers, you will go to the forefather planet, Pita planet, which is Aryama is ruling. Yeah, hellish planet, and the Pita planet is almost close to below planets, below this earthly planet. There are six planets down below us. Atala, Vitala, Tala, Tala, Rasatala, Mahital, Patal. So around Patal, that area in parallel, these two planets are there. Hellish planet, Yamaraj, Chandragupta, and others. This whole department, and then next to that is the Pita, forefather planet. So depending on what living entities do, think of at the time of death, that's what they will attain. So that's why Krishna is stressing that Antakale cha mamema smaran muktva kalevram yaprayad samadbhavam yadinastatha. And then he is mentioning yam yam vav is paran bhavam. Whatever one thinks, that's what you will attain. And then he says further, so how will what kind of thought will come based on what? It is based on practice. So that's why Krishna is stressing. If you want to remember me, Arjuna, you cannot give up work. You have to do work and also remember me both. Abhyas is very important. If you don't do practice, you cannot. It is not a material exam where you may be able to somehow or the other cheat or something, some copy from somebody and then try to pass the exam. That is not going to happen here. To attain the spiritual world, you can do that here. So in Lord Krishna's case, you can cheat, you can attain like that. There is no other way, but you have to follow the real path with the real devotion. You cannot cheat. So that's why Krishna is mentioning Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa na Anya Gamina without deviation. Yati Parda Anuchintayan constantly. Just like the Prabhupada gives example of caterpillar constantly thinking of butterfly, so it becomes butterfly. So, or the gross worm, fearful of bees confining gross worm into a hole, and then gross worm is looking at the bee and constantly meditating on that. So, it ultimately it becomes a bee and is leaving this body and then attains a bee. Bee's body takes. So, in that way, constant absorption and meditation. So, it's a very important process. Example, we can see that uh, one who gives something to Lord Krishna, one who works for Lord Krishna, anything he gives up. Just like we have example, many examples are there. In one time in Gujarat, this is in when Srila Prabhupada's time, Vallabh Vidyanagar, Anand, it is called, I think. So there, one devotee who's elderly, probably 60 years or plus, is one retire. So he's thinking, I want to give this home to Lord Krishna, Hare Krishna devotees. He was thinking, how should I do that? Because my family is there, my relatives are there. I can't give. They won't will let me give to Krishna. So how can I do this? He was thinking about it. And then in the dream, Lord Krishna indicated, don't worry, I will send my devotees, you give to them. Tomorrow I will send devotees, you give to them. And the next day, by Krishna's the plan. So they don't know, but Lord Krishna has planned. So the ISKCON devotees, someone came, Rajasuya Prabhu from ISKCON. He came and knocking the doors, door to door at that time, life membership program. Prabhupada has told life member, make everybody life members and distribute the books. They used to give books, one who becomes life member. So that was the program. So he went there and knocked the door to make him a life member. And then he opened the door, and then he was surprised to see devotees because of what he got a dream, and that's what is happening. So he's seeing a devotee. Then immediately, yes, yes, I'm ready. Please come. And then finally the conversation went on, and then he gave he gave his home, and then that's what became a temple, ISKCON temple, the whole his house. So then he was constant. He was not a devotee. He was not a practitioner. Like he was not waking up early in the morning and Mangalarati. He was not that kind of devotee. He was just ordinary person. But by Krishna's arrangement, because he was thinking, then from that point onward, he was every day he was thinking, I have given my home. You constantly remembering Krishna by through that one activity, because one who is attached, like is generally to get a home in India also. Nowadays it's even more difficult, even here or in India. You have to work your whole family has to work, or somehow sometimes two people or one person has to work whole life to pay off that and to just maintain one home. Imagine that situation. And then giving that home to Krishna means you have attachment. But now that attachment is given to Krishna, then automatically that purifies. So then automatically you'll think of him. Constantly you'll think, oh, given home, then I should serve him. So some or the other you'll think of Krishna. So at the same time you'll be thinking of other things, but at least you'll be thinking of some percentage, some time of Krishna. So that's how he started. Then gradually he was able to, and then devotees engaged him also. In this way, he's chanting, and then gradually he is able to attain. So definitely, I'm sure he must have attained, if not Vaikuntha, some other planet where he is continuing his devotion service. So this is what Lord Krishna is teaching us. Or sometimes we may be going and driving it just like the practice. Krishna is mentioning, stressing on the remembrance. Mam anusmara. You must fight, you must do the duty, but before the first you have to remember. That means even when you are performing devotion service, even when you are driving, brushing the teeth, or whatever activity you are doing, externally on the face of it, it is a material activity. But you have to remember Krishna. That is the first foremost principle of throughout Bhagavad Gita. In devotions, in bhakti, that is the foremost important aspect. Always remember Krishna, smartavyasa satato Vishnu, vismartavyasa najatu. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That is the main principle. Eta eva eva kinkara. Sarva within Nishedayo. Everything else becomes the subservient to this main principle. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Whatever activity we do, that's why we have to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra within the heart, within the mind, inside. While cooking, while cutting, while cleaning, while garlands, whatever service. This is the practice we have to make. Always remember, that's why Mam Anusmara. He didn't say Mam Yuddacha Anusmara. He didn't say that. First he said, first remember me and fight. Neither he said give up your duty, work. No. He said also do that. It is like when you're driving, you have to concentrate on in the road. Concentrate on the lights, traffic lights, who's driving in the front and who's coming in, going. You have to concentrate in the front. But imagine, at least I have taken my spiritual master. I drove many sannyasis, I drove in my car. Not only that, I still remember the day when the installation time we have taken, I was carrying and I was also, I think, is there in the car. I think I might drove also the Sri Sri Radha Samson, the deity from Madhupati Prabhu's home to temple, to our temple where we installed. So now you are driving, your concentration is the front, but at the same time, you know that the deities are on the back side. Spiritual master is on the back side. Sometimes I have taken His Holiness with some Maharaj also, and many other sannyasis. So you know you are conscious of your front lights and everything. You are very, very careful because you are taking exalted person with great opportunity to drive and don't talk, will not talk unnecessarily. We should be very grave and careful in how we utilize the time of pure devotee and also the Supreme Lord. When we are carrying the Supreme Lord, the deities, and we have taken Lord Jagannath Baldev Sudra for Radha Yatra. So the consciousness your focus is there on the front of driving. At the same time, you are conscious of the deities, you are conscious of the spiritual master, you are conscious of the pure devotee of the Lord. So both things are happening parallelly. You are doing the duty at the same time remembrance. This is the best example. In this way, our life should be practiced. So that's what in the last week section we are discussing here. 5 to 8 is remembrance of Krishna at the time of death. Hmm. By the practice, by practice, regular practice, constant remembrance, constant practice, anuchintayan, by following previous acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada, by his own example he showed. He didn't stop at 16 rounds, he's constantly chanting. That doesn't mean you start tomorrow onward, you start chanting more and then you forget hearing, you forget reading, you forget prescribed duties, taking care of family and job. No, that's not that's why you have to understand everything from a bona fide spiritual master and his representatives. You have to discuss among the association of devotees. You should discuss and understand clearly what it means, how to apply. You have to understand the principle and the detail, how you should apply in your life. That has to be carefully understood. You have to balance. The chanting should be done gradually from 1 round to 4 rounds to 8 rounds to 16 rounds. We should come. It's easy. It's not difficult. It's just how to balance our life. What kind of activity we should give up. Unwanted things. How to give up. Take it away from our life so that it gives us time to focus on Krishna. So then we will be able to remember Krishna and practice this as the primary focus. All other things we will do, just like driving the car, we are focused on that aspect. But parallelly, we'll think of also Lord Krishna. So this is important aspect. And that's what is mentioned. And then Lord Krishna also mentioning the those who are desiring. Also, one important point is seventh chapter is talking about Pradhana Bhuta Bhakti and Pradhana Bhuta Bhakti and Kevala Bhakti. Seventh chapter, first verse, if you see Sri Bhagavan was Maya Sakta Mana Partha Yoga Munjan Madashre Asansayam Samagramam Yata Gnasa Tatsunu. Spontaneous devotion. Maya Asakta Mana Partha. In your mind, think of me, Asakta, deep attachment. So that's what Krishna is talking about, almost close to Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotion. Krishna is talking about. But next verse, next after that, all the way from 16 to 29, he's talking about the Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti, those who are attached to some desires, some results. Four kinds of people approaching with different desires. And also Gnana Mishra Bhakti, those who wants to merge into the Brahman effulgence, spiritual planet, but that is just a border from between material and real spiritual planets. So that is also Gnana Mishra. This is the seventh chapter, mainly talking about this Pradhana Bhuta Bhakti, mixture of Karma Mishra Bhakti, Gnana Mishra Bhakti. In the eighth chapter, Krishna is also talking about the Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Today's section 9 to 13, the section title is Practice of Remembering Krishna through Meditation, Yoga Mishra Bhakti. That is today's topic. But there are key instruction, important instruction. There are few things this section is talking about. First thing, one must understand this Om. What is Om means? Many of you might not know this meaning. What Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving, what six Goswamis are giving, Sri Prabhupada is giving. AUM Om. What does it Om means? Lord Krishna himself speaks. We'll come to that in few minutes. That is the first one important point, and is also uh, how to subdue our senses or how to withdraw our senses from sense objects. What it is in the yoga platform, it is called pratyahara. Prati ahara. Ahara means food. When you are taking ahara, it's not only food, it is uh, attachment to the various objects, senses and sense objects. This is called ahar in one time in a sense of food. But because senses and sense objects, that attachment is there, it is getting its food. So pratyahar means drawing away the senses, drawing the senses away from sense objects. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving in the self-realized soul example, kurmo angani iva. So that just like the tortoise, as soon as it sees, whenever it wants, it will contract. its limbs within the shell, deep shell, the very hard rock-like shell. So like that, the yogi is supposed to contract or bring the senses away from the sense object. That is the principle here. But there is a same principle is there for a devotee also. So there are two instructions there. One, we are getting instruction from Lord Rishabhadev as the devotees how one should practice till his last breath, and then how to control this, withdraw the senses, and basic day-to-day activities. We do certain things. I'll give that example so that we understand how to withdraw the senses from sense objects. These are the two important instructions from this and many others. And we'll also understand from the example of one who has gone to the spiritual world, one who has gone to the spiritual world, and that example is written down in the form of Bruhat Bhagavatamrita. This has been discussed by Parikshit Maharaj too. Is about to die, seventh day. Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadeva Goswami happened in 7 days, but almost at the end, at last, is about to die. The time has been extended by inconceivable potency of Supreme Lord. That time, Mother walks in running, not walks in running, Mother Uttara. That time, this conversation has happened. That is written down by because Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed to Sanatana Goswami on this aspect. That is what is written down by Sanatana Goswami. Is called Bruhat Bhagavatamrita. In that, this is described. Hopefully, we will cover by Gopa Kumar describing what is happening in the spiritual world. How the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is so much concerned about the jiva, and as soon as he came, this jiva came to the walked into Golok Vrindavan. What was the conversation? What did he see? How did Lord Krishna react? That conversation. And we'll also see when same Gopakumar going from all the way from material planet, from earthly planet all the way to Maharloka, Janaloka, higher planets above the earthly planet, where these Gnanis, Karmis going into, they are not going above, but they are desiring higher, like Karma Mishra Bhakti, they are going into higher planets. They go to heavenly planet, Indra Loka, Janaloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka. So like this, Gopakumar also went to all these planets. There is a description. He became even Lord Brahma. So Lord made him because that's what he's desiring. He made him. That conversation also we'll see in brief. So then we understand exactly what are we doing. Why, first of all, why understand this point? Why did Lord Krishna discuss this Yoga Mishra Bhakti before Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti? Kevala Bhakti means without any other motives. Pure Bhakti, there is no other deviation. Why did he speak? One aspect is they are not everybody is at the highest level. For them, Krishna has to present all other options so that gradually they will come from one level to another level. They will come to the pure bhakti also later on. But for the devotees, he wants to show the superior. If you if you learn, if you understand ABC means, and then there is a intermediate. Then you have fundamentals, ABCD, 1 to 10th class, and intermediate, degree, and PhD. If you know what is there in each level, then you will be able to appreciate the highest level, the PhD, what it means. If you don't know what is there in the higher levels, then you cannot appreciate what is there in each of these levels, what difference, what are the details, then you can't appreciate really. You may think sometimes it's the same thing, what difference does it make? But same thing Uddhava is asking, and Lord Krishna is explaining in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There, in great detail, this has been explained. The Yoga Mishra Bhakti also. There, Uddhava is asking, and there's exact same point is being described, that why Lord Krishna has to describe this Yoga Mishra Bhakti, even though Uddhava is a pure devotee, at least below the gopis, but still he is a pure devotee. So he's asking, Lord Krishna is explaining so that for others' purpose, and so that also his appreciation for bhakti, what is performing, you understand here. Arjuna will appreciate. Oh, he is safe. His position as a devotee is greater than the yogis, than the karma Mishra Bhakti, than the Jnana Mishra Bhakti, than the yoga Mishra Bhakti. And also it will help him to more and more concentrate on the Lord Krishna's personal form of the Lord, to withdraw his senses from all other engagements while he is working, while he is fighting, while he is engaging various activities with his family, with his Yudhishthira Maharaj and his family members and opposite members, whatever activity is engaged in, but he's been meditating on Lord Krishna, always remembering Krishna, in relation with Krishna. He's seeing everything in relation with Krishna. So these are some of the considerations we must have. Not that this section is not for me. This is for yogis. Krishna is talking about yoga Mishra Bhakti, so I don't need to consider this. No, there are points, instruction for each and every verse of Bhagavad Gita from beginning to all 700 plus verses throughout 18 chapters. There is not a single verse where you should you should not consider. No, every verse is very important. Bhagavad Gita. You cannot remove any verse from Bhagavad Gita. So it's very important. So that's why we have to systematically study each and everything. Now let's go. So from now first verse, let's look at the first verse. Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Adhyatma Anusasitaram Manoraniyam Sayas Paret. So Satam Purusham. So as it is mentioned, here first verse, ninth verse, Krishna is mentioning about the 10 qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because this is Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Lord Krishna is stressing those who wants to practice of meditation on the super soul. Here, in the specific aspect, instead of mentioning about the primary quality, just like there are 7 rasas, 5 principal rasas, 7 secondary rasas, just like Bhishmadev is in secondary rasa. But the devotees, the topmost devotees are in the 5 primary rasas, especially Dasya, more than Shantaras, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. Means more than neutrality, friendship, and then what is it? Parent-child relationship, Vatsalras, and then Madhurya's conjugal loving relationship, and Sakya's friendship. So, and then master-servant relationship. This is the more higher. So this is the primary rasas. Devotees are interested in these. The other rasas are secondary. Hasyaras, Vivasras, Bhayanakras, so all other chivalrous ras, Bhishma Pitamaha is in. These are secondary. Same ways the yogis, for them here, the names also, like Yashodanandan, Nandanandan, Brajendra Nandan, Devaki Nandan. These are the devotees are interested in these names. They are not interested in Paramatma. Lord is pervaded everywhere. And these are not the qualities or the names. Devotees not so much keen and interested. You will hear, you will understand, but is not so much keen. Every day will not remember those names. Rather, you will remember Brajendra Nandan Krishna, Yashodanandan Krishna, like that, the form. So, like that. Here, the first verse is describing the qualities of the Lord in the secondary level and the secondary form, because this is talking about Yoga Mishra Bhakti. That's why. So, the process, as Arjuna is asking, what is the process to remember Krishna? So, that's why Lord is describing this process of Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram. Kavi means one who knows the past, present, future. And even the 4 Kumas are Kavi. So here Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu is explained as Kavi, one who knows the past, present, future. And then further, that could be Narada Muni also knows past, present, future. 4 Kumaras also knows. Then what is the difference? That's why another word is used after that. Kavim Puranam is the oldest. There is no one who is older than when the creation happened. All the demigods before, no one was there except Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan. Eko Narayano Asit, na Brahma, na Rudra. No one was there, na Prajapati. So there was no one except Lord Narayan when the creation, before the creation. So this is explained Purusha Sukta prayers and in Vedas. This is mentioned. So that's why it is a Purana means he is the oldest. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Madhyam Prana Purusham. But he is always 16.5 years. This contradiction, that's why the bhakti, you cannot use your own logic, argument, it's not under your jurisdiction. It's not. Bhakti is beyond. So To some extent, you will understand through your knowledge, through using your abilities. But for certain things, you just hear and accept it because that is beyond. So bhakti is not by your logic and argument. So it is based on love. So the same Puran is the oldest, but he is 16 and he doesn't become old, grow beard or become gray hair like me. So Lord is always Navayavana, 16 and a half years old. So that is what is he is the oldest. But Puranam Anusasitaram is the controller of all. Anusasitaram is the controller of all. Not only that, Sarvasya Dataram, not only that, Anor Aniyamsam. Anor means he is the smaller than the smallest because he is there in every atom. Not only that, he is as a super soul. What is the size of the soul? Is the small, 1/10,000 tip of the hair. So, and then Anor Aniyamsam means is the smaller than the smallest. Just like the soul and super soul both are in same size, 1/10,000 tip of the hair. That is the small size of the soul. And then same way super soul is also. So all these descriptions are there. Anor Aniyamsam Anusmare. Remember him, Anusmare. Sarvasya Dataram. Not only is the supreme control of everyone, Sarvasya Dataram, is the maintainer also. So, Sarvasya Dataram, the verse, let's go to look at the verse. Anoraniyamsam, Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram, Anoraniyamsam Anusmaredya, Sarvasya Dataram Achincha Rupam, yeah, Achincha Rupam, beautiful form of the Lord, inconceivable, that is significant. Prabhupada talks about in the purport. And that's why inconceivable means he can't understand his position. He can't understand his form. Achincha Rupam. Aditya Varnam. Aditya Varnam is like a sun. So because there is no all the effulgence, sun is getting its effulgence from the Supreme Lord, from the toenails of the Supreme Lord. Sun is getting. Imagine how much power sun has, and imagine what is the power of if toenails itself is giving that shine, effulgence, and then one sun from one universe is giving, and then how many suns are there in so many universes in this material. And then imagine how spiritual world, everything, the emanation, there is no need of sun. Everything is glowing just from the toenails of the Supreme. You can imagine what kind of brightness and effulgence Lord has. Blackish blue, even though he is blackish blue, Megasyam color, but is not of that black color we know of. This is completely different, transcendental, blackish blue, and then is effulgent, radiant color. Aditya Varna Tamasa Parastas is beyond this darkness, beyond the material world. Parastar means transcendental. So these are the qualities here. One way to remember for the yogis, for them, in this way it is explained. The Lord is beyond your conception, beyond your logic. You must meditate on the soul, who is the smaller than the smallest, but at the same time is heavier than the heaviest. Because all these planets are floating in the air. Gam Avishya Bhutan, Dharayam Aham Vajisa. So in this way, the first verse is describing in this verse number 9. So talking about this 9 or 10 qualities of the Supreme Lord. These are the secondary attributes because the Lord Krishna is describing about Pradhana Bhuta Bhakti. So Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So that's why these descriptions are given. Now Achincha Rupam. So inconceivable form. Because since we mentioned inconceivable form, we want to describe describe this, as I mentioned, the special qualities of the Supreme Lord. So then you understand what is reality. This is from the spiritual world. Gopakumar went back and forth from one planet. He went from material world, material planet. He went to Jagannath Puri also. Within this material earthly planet, then he went to higher planet Indraloka, then Maharloka, Janaloka, he went to Brahmaloka, he became Brahma. All these places he became so many different, he taken so many responsibilities. He was not happy. He went to also within Vaikunta, he went to so many planets. Vaikunta, Dwaraka, Ayodhya, Dwaraka, Mathura. So he was not happy. He went to Goloka. So all these are described. Now I will just read because of this Achincha Rupa, inconceivable. It's very inconceivable. Let's see here. So you'll be amazed to see. This is from volume number 2. This is the part 3 of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Sri Gopakumar said, as if anointed by the downpour of the purest nectar, I gazed with one pointed attention down the path of the old lady had pointed out. The sheer force of my ecstasy had frozen my thighs, but with some effort I moved on, and I heard from afar a certain sound mixed with the mooing of cows. It was the supremely attractive murmur of Krishna's enchanting flute. That sound sweet melodies of sportingly played notes, diverse with musical embellishments, was like nothing ever heard in the material world. Its attractive force at once overwhelmed everyone in the cowherd village, because the Lord is a cowherd boy. In Shyam Krishna, this is Brajendra Nandan Krishna, and this is in Goloka, this is a cowherd world. So obviously he's a cowherd boy there. By the power of that sound, a sap flowed in a downpour from the long rows of trees. A flood of tears fell from the eyes of every embodied being in the village of the cohorts. A shower of milk rained from the breasts of all of Krishna's mothers. Even the elderly and the rapid currents of the Yamuna suddenly stood still because Lord Krishna is playing the flute. By just he's playing the flute, what's happening? You see this a dramatic exchange. I didn't know whether that flute gave out poison or the nectar of immortality, whether its sound was harsh like thunder or soft like water, hotter than blazing fire or cooler than the moon. I couldn't tell. But that sound drove all the Vrajavasis mad. All of them were utterly bewildered. Then I saw some women of Braja came out of their homes bearing in their hands the things needed to greet Krishna with worship. Others who passed by held ornaments and offerings of food on their heads. Other ladies, ignoring everything around them, ran toward the mingled sounds of the mooing of the cows and the song of the flute. In the frenzy of love for Krishna, the ladies stumbled down the path. Some ladies ran with their ornaments in disarray. Some could hardly keep their belts and hair tied. Some stayed in their homes, stunned like trees, and others fell unconscious to the ground. Some of the women who had fainted, their faces wet with tears and saliva, were carried forward by their girlfriends. Other ladies, pained by the urges of their love for Krishna, went ahead, pressed out by their friends. Come see him. The lady is so diverse in complexion and adorned with diverse ornaments and dress, put to shame the good fortune of the goddess of fortune herself. Swiftly, the ladies ran to the bank of the Yamuna, absorbed in singing his names and pastimes. I too went forward. This is Gopakumar describing. Gopakumar is running forward. As if polluted by someone, joining the throng of the gopis, rushing forward on all sides, I too began to run quickly. Then from a distance I saw him. This is Lord Krishna. He saw Lord Krishna. His charming flute in hand, running quickly, he emerged from among his friends and animals and approached me, saying in a sweet voice. So this is what we can expect when we enter into Golok Vrindavan, or original consciousness or original Sarupa. What's going to happen? We hear this. Saying in a sweet voice, look, Sridhama, here is my dear friend Sarupa. This is Gopakumar's spiritual name. He is talking, Lord Krishna is mentioning to his cowherd friends, Sridham, he is talking to him. Here is my dear friend Sarupa, the sun who shines on the lotus of your family. Krishna was dressed for the forest. His garments, earrings, and peacock feather crown all swayed to and fro, and did his garland of kadamba flowers. His fragrance perfumed all directions, and his beautiful lotus face blossomed with a playful smile. His lotus eyes beamed with a merciful glance, and the varied assets of beauty decorated him in a singular way. The fingers of his lotus hand busily pushed back the locks of his hair, which flew about, adorned with the dust raised by the cows. His tender, divine lotus feet touched the surface of the earth just to grant her the gift of supreme splendor. Playfully dancing as they moved, they attracted everyone's heart with their great eagerness to walk quickly with the large steps. The effulgence of his cloud colored body, shining with the full sweetness of youth, lit up all corners of the sky. His beauty, which captured the hearts of ever dear devotees of Raja, was an ocean abounding with countless excellences. He leaped forward and came close to me, and compelled by the affection of his helpless devotee, I fainted in love and seeing him. He caught hold of me by neck, and suddenly he too fell to the ground. Because Lord is also in separation from his devotees. After so many lifetimes, we are coming back. So now Lord also is in so much in separation. He also fell down. We'll see here. A moment later, I re-awoke and carefully freed my neck from his grasp. I stood up and saw him on the ground in a faint, moistening the dust-covered path with his tears. Some gopis came and said, "Look, look, who has come here? What has he done? He has put our life and soul into such a state. Alas, alas! Just see, the people of Raja, now we are all dead. This must be some servant of that great wizard Kamsa." Lamenting like this in many ways, the gopis cried loudly in distress as they surrounded Krishna. Hmm. Because the gopis didn't know who Gopakumar was, other than some stranger dressed in a cohort boy. But Lord Krishna knows. Then from behind Krishna, several group of cohorts quickly approached. Seeing him in such a state, they cried with pitiful voices. From far away in the village, Nanda and other elder cohorts heard the terrible sound of crying. So too did Yashoda, ever affectionate to her son, and so did the other elder ladies and the maid servant. Together they all ran to that place. Their feet stumbling on the path, bewildered, they too cried, "Alas, alas!" Then the cows and bulls and calves came there, and the black deer and other animals. Seeing Krishna in that state, they wept in agony. The animals, all crying out in love, their faces drenched with floods of tears, approached Krishna one by one and gently smelled and licked him again and again. Great members of birds flying overhead told also of their misery by making a tumultuous noise that sounded like people crying. See, everyone has conscious. Birds, everyone is serving, trying to so much attached to Krishna, not only cows. And the immobile creatures in great pain within seemed suddenly to dry up. What more is there to say? All beings moving and non moving were on the verge of death because everybody is conscious of Krishna. As for me, this Gopakumar, I was drowning in vast ocean of sorrow, confused about what to do, severely tormented. I put Krishna's feet on my head and began profusely sobbing and lamenting. Then Lord Balabhadra, Krishna's older brother, quickly arrived from some distance away, full of fear. White complexion, arrayed in blue garments, he appeared charming, for he was same age as Krishna and as nicely dressed. Lord Balabhadra, that most skillful of persons, cried for a moment, but then seemed to regain his composure and looked all around with great care and attention. He made me hold his younger brother by the neck with my arms. He wiped Krishna's beautiful limbs clean with my hand and made me loudly call out to him with many plaintive cries. Then he made me lift Krishna up from the ground. Suddenly, Krishna opened his eyes and sealed till then by a flood of tears. Seeing me, he joyfully embraced and kissed me. But then he looked around and became embarrassed because he saw seeing the gopis. So all the insistence of Nanda Maharaj, who was anxious with love for his sons, just after milking the cows, the two brothers went to their home. They went home at once, not even giving the cows proper attention. Mother Yashoda quickly came to meet the boys, her clothing and body wet with the milk of flowing from her breast and the tears that flooded from her eyes in love. Together with Rohini, she worshipped each limb of both brothers again and again. Yashoda performed arati to her son Krishna by caressing him with her own hair and affectionately embraced and kissed him. She couldn't, she couldn't, what is that? She couldn't decide whether she ought to keep him on her head at her breast or within her womb to protect him. Krishna, anxious with love for me, brought me there outside his home and had me offer respects to her. And Mother Yashoda, seeing the great love Krishna had for me, happily caressed me as though I were her own son. Then the gopis all arrived there at once. Some had made excuses for coming, and others had paid no regard to what anyone thought. So there are much more. There are more pastimes. How what and all they brought various food, various items, various sweetmeats, various items they made. Gopis made, Yashodamai made. So many devotees made. So all how they served, they ate. All those are described. This is when Gopakumar first time entering into Golok Vrindavan, returning back in his original Swarupa, his rasa. This is a situation. Now, dear devotees, you can understand this is what will happen. How many lifetimes we are wasting here? What is going to happen? This is what we have to remember. This is what we have to understand. What we are missing in the spiritual world. So what we are really missing, we are thinking this some job, some working, some buying home, some buying car. This is what we are thinking. But what we are missing, we have to understand. That's why we have to hear this nectar. Then we know how seriously we should practice to get to this reality. Uh, so that's why I had to describe this, even though a little bit of a different topic, but it is coming from this point of view, from this how to be absorbed in the understanding the spiritual nature of the Supreme Lord and His affection and His qualities in Goloka Vrindavan. Because here secondary qualities of Yoga Mishra Bhakti, for Yoga Mishra Bhakti is described. But one quality of Achintya Rupa, inconceivable. You see what you can't even conceive what is there in the spiritual world. What kind of activity is going to happen when we first time enter? We have no idea. Because we heard from Sri Sanatana Goswami in this Brahad Bhagavatam, then we understood some aspects of what may happen. So that's why I had to describe this. Now, already 803. Let's quickly go to the next verse. So, as this is what the ninth verse is describing, how to practice the remembrance of various qualities. So, how we should remember, just as I mentioned while driving, how we'll remember, pay attention. So, same way we do our duties, but at the same time, in our mind, in our heart, we should remember Lord Krishna. Then the second verse, Lord Krishna is mentioning of Prayana Kale Manasa Chalena Bhakta Yukto Yoga Balena Cheva. Yoga Balena is important. Yoga Balena means by the strength of the mystic yoga, those who are yogis, so are meditating on the super soul. But for the devotees, they are completely engaged in the pure devotion service, attached to the actual personal form of the Lord, and is represented is devotee service. That is the main strength. Prayana kala means at the time of leaving this body. Manasa chalena. By fixing the mind, Bruvor Madhya, here Lord Krishna is describing what is the process. Because Arjuna is indirectly, Baladev Vidyabhushan, or one of the acharyas, is describing. Arjuna is asking, Krishna, you are saying me to meditate, but what do I meditate? What is the process? Then Krishna is describing. You have to bring, there are 6 Chakra Yoga of Patanjali. Yoga is described here. Shat Chakra Yoga means 6 chakras. There are 6 chakras, just like I described before in the last class, in the Sunday Peace Temple class, of the five levels of consciousness, or I described in many other classes also. There is Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. 5 koshas, similar to the Avrutta consciousness. The lowest level is the trees and all, they are eating. There is Annamaya Kosha. Same way Avrutta consciousness or Achadana consciousness, completely covered up. Then there is Sankuchita consciousness, the second level, which is the Pranamaya Kosha. Annamaya to Pranamaya Kosha. Then the third level is budding consciousness. So that is the Mukulita consciousness. Mukulita consciousness, the same way here, Pranamaya, Manomaya Kosha. At the mind, into the thinking, feeling, willing is there. Manomaya Kosha. That is the human beings. And then above this, the Vijnanamaya. Then you start After practicing this sambandha videya prayojan, then you get some realizations, vijnana, but it is not fully perfected yet. So that's the mukulita to vikasita. That means you are blossoming, consciousness being, but not fully yet. We are not at Krishna Prema stage. Then the full stage is Vigna Anandamaya was fully blissful. That is the five. Same way, for a yoga process, there are six chakras. First chakra is at the all the way when the spinal cord begins, all the way behind or anus, all the below around that area, Mooladhara chakra. From there, then Swadhisthana chakra above, below the navel, little bit, and then you have the Anahata chakra is at the chest. So then you have then between throat. I think I forget the names, but there are seven chakras. See, the Agna chakra is between the eyebrows. So that's what Krishna is describing. Bring your sense, the life air, from by using the as it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam also. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutas Tunmanti Gaye Krama Upanishades Yam Samaga Dhyana Vasita Tadgatena Manasa Pasyanti Yam Yogino Surasura Gana Tasmai Devaya Namaha. The 11th, 12th chapter, 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. All the Brahma, Indra, Varuna, Chandra, Shiva, Rudra, everybody is offering their prayers along with the personified Vedas, personified Upanishad. There is a description. That's why there is so much vast subject matter of bhakti. In Brahad Bhagavatamrita, you'll find this was described in just in a half day or less than a half day by Parikshit Maharaj to Mother Uttara. And there is a conversation between Mother Uttara and then Parikshit Maharaj's fourth son, Maharaj Janamejaya. This conversation, this whole pastime. So there, this is being described actually. So all these details, great details. When this Gopakumar went to the higher planet, what's going on? What and all is these six chakras, six how by practicing different practices he has done, but bhakti, but through different. Initially, is not at pure karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, but it is all based on the surrendering to a spiritual master. His guru has given one mantra. He was always chanting. He never left that mantra. That is the beauty of this process. He never left the mantra Guru has given. He submitted to Guru. He is following that mantra, but at the same time he has some desires. So in that way he went on, up and up and up. Gradually from Karma Mishra Bhakti to Gnana Mishra Bhakti to then gradually without Bhakti he cannot attain. He can't attain the even to the result of what that level gives. The Karma Mishra Bhakti gives. If you don't perform Bhakti, Bhakti changes. Bhakti has to be there. So that's why it's Karma Mishra Bhakti. So here in this process, the one has to bring up the life air of pranayam. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara. So what it means, Lord Rishabhadeva also performed this mystic yoga. So there it is mentioned that at any point of time one should not give up the austerity. Tapasa. So what is that? There the verse is tapak. Uh, one should not give up the austerity and charity and then sacrifices at any point of time. So tapak jnana यज्ञदान तपक्रिया नात्याज्यम कार्यम एव तत् यज्ञदान तपक्रिया पावनानि मरीषिणः यज्ञदान tapa. That means one should not give up chanting the holy name of the Lord Hare Krishna Maha Mantra at any point of time, whether you are beginning stage, middle stage, highest stage, topmost stage. Because even in Goloka, you are always remembering Krishna, you are always chanting, glorifying, singing, or something or the other, but is always thinking about Lord's names only. Always Lord's pastime, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. That's what is going on, whether you are here or there, what level. So that's why we should not give up that austerity of bhakti. Tapasa. Tapa, Gnana. This. So austerity, charity, and sacrifice. Our sacrifice is this Hare Krishna mantra. So that is Sankirtana Yajna. That is sacrifice. Austerity is to chant. Austerity to engage in service of the Lord and service of the devotees. Austerity to worship the deity. Austerity is to offer tulsi leaves. Austerity is to worship the Tulsi Marani. So all these are austerity. So austerity is to come to the temple because otherwise so many other obligations. These are all the austerities. So that's why we should not give up at any point of time. So despite whatever stage we might be in, so it doesn't matter. So that's why that is the instruction here. So even for the yogis also that austerity is there. But because they think they're attached to mystic perfection, whether you look at Saubhara Muni or Viswamitra Muni, that is instruction, important instruction. Saubhara Muni or Viswamitra Muni or so many other different sages were fell down from their position. They lost their mystic power. They lost their yogic power because they attached to some tinkling sound and either Indra or someone sent the girl and then immediately by hearing or by seeing a fish engaged in union, then Zobanu fell down. So even though they are attained some mystic perfection, because they lost, they couldn't do the pratyahar, withdrawing the senses from sense objects, because they don't have the higher taste. The higher taste of actually they haven't worshipped the personal form of the Lord. They haven't seen, they haven't heard. That's why the hearing is important. So that's why more you hear, more you meditate, more you contemplate. If you don't hear through your ears, then what are you going to remember? What are you going to contemplate? And what you are going to finally attain? That's why we have to hear. If we hear from Brahad Bharat, then you know what is in the spiritual world, what to aim for, what to aspire for, what to think of. These are the activities we will have to think of. Then we will have much more clarity what is happening in the spiritual world. But otherwise, we have no, you have vague ideas. So that's why we have to hear. So that is the difference. That's why this is austerity. This requires a lot of austerity because most of the people, family members will not support, friends will not support. Rest of the population will not support Krishna consciousness activity. That's where austerity is needed because austerity, without austerity, you can't progress. It is going to require austerity. Prahlad Maharaj also has to face. His own father didn't allow him to engage in bhakti. Haridas Thakur, his own the ministers and the kingdom, the king itself punished 22 market, he has to be beaten. This is we will not be in that severe situation, but we all will face some situation or the other. Don't go to temple today. Don't hear the class. Let's go here. Let's go there. This definitely will be there, no matter what. Not only you, everyone. We all have to face. That bound to happen. Don't think that it's not going to happen. It will happen for everybody. But we have to somehow or the other tolerate and adjust things. Keep on making the adjustments. And the Lord seeing our effort, then Lord also will make the adjustments. He will give the proper intelligence to everyone surrounded. So then everything will be peaceful and happy. But initially, there will be some things we have to tolerate because that is required so that we understand this what we have gone through, what we have wasted, how many lifetimes we have wasted in this process of actual the reality versus temporary illusion. So for that we have to do some austerity. So that's why here it's important is pranayam pratyahar is a great austerity to come to the mystic perfection. And then without realizing the real goal, they fall down even at the topmost level of these greatest yogis. So that's why by performing bhakti, you are getting all the results. But at any point of time, we should not give up. For one day, oh, I'm in the flight, I'm traveling. For this 2 weeks, it's all right. I can eat whatever because there is no other alternative. No, there is alternative. If you are austere enough, if you have plan enough, plan before, then there is a way to do it. So many people are doing it. But because we are not austere enough, then we take lightly and then you eat what is given by the food, whatever food is given in the flight. Then you have to face the reactions. So then you can't maintain your bhakti because you will be agitated, bound to be agitated because that's what you are taking in. So that's why this process, yoga process, what is been described here, that yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara. Pranayam means controlling the senses and then pranayama is breathing. Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka. There are three levels of inhaling and exhaling. You have to hold the breath from these chakras, from all the way from bringing down the life air, and then you have to hold it for a fraction of seconds, and then you chant at this from all the way from between the around the heart. From that chakra, as you bring up to the throat, and then as you bring up between the eyebrows without closing fully the eyes. The pratyahara, this pranayama and pratyahara are the most important stages of yoga. It takes a long time. Especially pratyahara it takes it's very difficult for the even greatest yogis withdrawing. So the important aspect of another instruction of pratyahara is like for bhakti yogis is to withdraw senses from sense object. More you engage in devotional service, then you will be able to withdraw from the other things. But it requires a lot of practice, lot of months and years. It's a constant practice. It is like when you are especially now winter and is all on top of it, it's raining. We are all closing because it's too cold. Especially when it rains and it's also snowing. Imagine what. Then you close all the windows. Sometimes you put a cloth also where if there is a gap. Same with the bugs. Sometimes bugs will come. The different flies will come. So you close all the doors, all the windows. You will not have any space open. So in that way, same way, imagine one advertisement comes in front of your eyes and you are finished. The consciousness immediately distracts agitation. It is like that. Any minute you get some cold air, you will feel it's cold. Or minute some fly comes, then you chase that fly around and catch it and throw it outside, or you kill it. You are not supposed to kill it, but that Prabhupada never allowed like that. So because that is not how the practitioner of bhakti should do. Try to catch it and throw it away outside. That's how you, because you should unnecessarily you should never kill any living entity. You have to be very careful. How you see from Shastra Chakshu, everything you have to see. So that's the important point is the same way you have to control the sense objects, senses and sense objects. You have to withdraw in this way. As you are closing your doors and windows and everything from the cold air, from the bugs, and same way we have to shut off these sense objects from the material aspects. We have to look at everything from the spiritual, everything as Krishna, in relation with Krishna, whether it's food, whether it's music, whether it's recreational aspects, everything you have to look at from the in relation with Krishna. Then everything will. It requires a lot of austerity, though. It's not going to be easy. Okay, you are bound, you are used to watch movie, then you watch. Okay, there may not be many different things to watch, but at least you watch Prabhupada's pastimes, or you watch Abhay Charan, you watch something related Mahabharata, Ramayana. You know what to do. Something better than watching some other mundane things, material things, where you will be agitated, reaction will be different than watching this. So, like that, you have to see everything in relation with Krishna and divert your mind and intelligence into Krishna conscious activities. Your eyes, your ears, your nose, your touch, your everything, all these five senses and karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. So that's why, as well as the ear and the tongue, these two are most important. That's why the ear has to hear the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and the transcendental sound vibration of the Krishna's glories, and tongue has to taste Krishna Prasad, tongue has to vibrate Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that's why this pranayam has been mentioned. Pratyahar has been mentioned, withdrawing the senses from sense objects and bringing that life air to the eyebrow, between the eyebrows. And then remember me at the time by chanting the syllable Om. In 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, Krishna is stressing this. Chanting the syllable Om. What is it? Om means? A means, it is mentioned, very important aspect. A means Lord Krishna. Om, A-U-M. What is you? You means Srimati Radharani. M means Jiva, living entity. This is my explained way, six Goswamis. This is 1 minute. Let me bring up that. There is a beautiful verse. So the Moladhara chakra, beginning of the spine, Swadhisthana chakra, below the waist, and Manipura chakra near navel, then Anahat chakra, heart and chest, and Visuddha chakra, throat, and Agna chakra between eyebrows, and Sahasrara chakra, which is top of the head. That is the seventh chakra. In this way, the Sat chakra yoga process is described, and celibacy, as I already mentioned, austerity is required. So now Lord Krishna himself is talking about, as I mentioned, about the Omkara. Akarena uchyate Krishna, Sarva Lokaika Nayaka. Okarena uchyate Radha, Makaro Jiva Vachaka. This is the important aspect. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 7, verse number 128, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing about this, how the Omkara is nothing but Lord Krishna. There is no difference. It's the impersonal aspect representation is Omkara, and personal aspect is personal form of Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This internal energy of the Lord, Hare, Srimad Radharani. As in the Om also you see that Akarena Uchate Krishna. A means that is Krishna, as Sarva Lokaika Nayaka, he is the supreme controller. Omkara is the combination of the letters AUM, Akara and Uchita Krishna. The letter Akara refers to Krishna, who is Sarva Lokaika Nayaka, the master of all living entities on planets, the material and spiritual. Nayaka means leader. He is the supreme leader, Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam. And the letter Ukara indicates Ukara and Uchate Radha, indicates Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of the Lord Krishna. So that we are chanting O Hare. Hare Krishna Mahamatra. Hare means Srimati Radharani. And then M means Makaro Jiva Vachaka. Makara means include, indicate the living entities Jiva. Thus, so this is thus Om is a complete combination of Krishna, his potency and his eternal servitors. In other words, Omkara represents Krishna, his name, fame, pastimes, entourage, expansion, devotees and potencies and everything else pertaining to him. So in this way, we have to understand. And in the chapter 9 also, Krishna himself is mentioning about this Omkara. So, Pitahavasya Jagato Mata Data Pitamaha Sarva Vede. Omkara. What is that? Verse 9:17. Krishna is mentioning, I am the father. Pitahavasya Jagato Mata Data Pitamaha. Vedyam Pavitra Omkara. Ruk Sama Evacha. The four Vedas are me. Omkara is me. Vedas, object of knowledge is me. So in this way, Lord Krishna is explaining Omkara is nothing but me. But that is the impersonal understanding and representation. And the Omkara is the Mahakavya. So Mahavakya. But Shankaracharya, Mayavad philosopher Shankaracharya, because he has to establish certain things above the Veda. There are Vedas. That's why, because before that Buddha came, so completely the Vedas, there is nobody is believing in Vedas. So that's why Shankaracharya has to establish higher principle than that. So that's why he had established. At the same time, he didn't give the highest philosophy because they are not ready to, they are not able to understand at that time. So that's why he has established some philosophy. So where this is being described in this way, where Mahakavya Tattvamasi, you are God, I am God. But this is not the Mahavakya, Mahakavya, Mahavakya. Mahavakya is Om, Omkara, Om Tatsat. That is the Mahavakya of the actually Vedas. But he has hid that Mahavakya and then he brought up the secondary ones, Tattvamasi, and other ones from other Chandogya Upanishad and other Upanishad. Those are also quoted, but those are secondary. The principal one is this Om, Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam, or Om Tat Sat. These are the main Mahavakyas of the Vedas. But he has actually hid them and then he brought up the secondary, and then in that way they themselves are representing as they are thinking they are God, they are Lord Narayan. So that is the false representation of the Supreme Lord. So in that way, we can understand from these verses, Krishna is describing how one should practice the austerity and charity, and how one should meditate on the Lord Krishna's form and qualities, as we also hear from the Manikriva and Nalakuvara. Also, we are hearing what they are describing when they have been Narada Muni cursed them. They are also describing the glories of the Supreme Lord, what they want to do when they got the beautiful forms. Lord Krishna bless them. Vani gunanu katane sravanam katayam hastau cha karma sumanas tava padayorna sprutya siras tava nivasa jagat praname दृष्ट्वा सदा दर्शनयस्तु भवन्तु तनूनाम्. Henceforward, may all our words describe your pastime. May our ears engage in oral reception of your glories. May our hands and legs and other senses engage in actions pleasing to you. May our minds always think of your lotus feet. May our heads offer our obeisance to everything within the world, because all things are also your different forms. May our eyes see the forms of Vaishnavas who are non-different from you. So, in this way, we can understand the importance of the Supreme Lord, the personal form of the Supreme Lord, as I described also from Brahad Bhagavatamrita. So already 826. There is also one on the same aspect where Lord Krishna is describing to Uddhava. Let me read that quickly. Let me see. Hold on. This is in the 11th canto. Lord Krishna is describing to Uddhava. Same questions are being asked. Let me see. 11, 11, 14, 31. Where Uddhava is asking, my dear lotus-eyed Krishna, by what process should one who desires liberation meditate upon you? Just like Arjuna is asking, what specific nature should his meditation be, and upon whom, which form should we meditate? Kindly explain to me this topic of meditation. There, Krishna started explaining. Supreme Personality of Godhead, sitting on a level seat that is not too high or not too low, keeping the body straight and erect yet comfortable, placing the two hands on one's lap, focusing the eyes on the tip of one's nose. One should purify the pathways of breathing by practicing the mechanical exercise of Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka. I explained. Then one should reverse the procedure, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, Puraka. This is pranayam. Having fully controlled the senses, one may thus practice pranayam step by step. Beginning from Mooladhara chakra, this is all the way, the lowest chakra, almost near the hips. One should move the light wire continuously upward like the fibers in the lotus stalk until one reaches the heart, which is the Anahat chakra, where the sacred syllable Om is situated like the sound of a bell. One should thus continue raising the sacred syllable upward the distance of 12 angulas, and there the Omkara should be joined together with the 15 vibrations produced with Anuswara. Being fixed with Omkara, one should carefully practice the pranayam system 10 times at each sunrise, noon, and sunset. Thus, after 1 month, one will be conquered the life ware. Keeping the eyes half closed and fixed on the tip of one's nose, being enlivened and alert, one should meditate on the lotus flower situated within the heart. This lotus has 8 petals and is situated on an erect lotus stalk. One should meditate on the sun, moon, and fire, placing them one after another within the whirl of that lotus flower. Placing my transcendental form within the fire, one should meditate upon it as auspicious goal of all meditation. That form is perfectly proportioned, gentle, and cheerful. It possesses 4 beautiful long arms, charming beautiful neck, a handsome forehead, pure smile, glowing sharp-shaped earring, suspended from 2 identical ears. That spiritual form is the color of a dark rain cloud and is garbed in golden yellowish silk. The chest of that form is the abode of the Srivatsa and the goddess of fortune, and that form is also decorated with conch shell, disc, club, lotus flower, and garland of forest flowers. The 2 brilliant lotus feet are decorated with ankle bells and bracelet. That form exhibits the Kaustubha gem along with the effulgent crown. The upper hips are beautified by golden belt, and the arms are decorated with valuable bracelets. All the limbs of that beautiful form capture the heart, and the face is beautified with merciful glancing. Pulling the senses back from the sense objects, one should be grave and self-controlled and should use the intelligence to strongly fix the mind upon all the limbs of my transcendental body. Thus, one should meditate upon that most delicate transcendental form of mind. So here, purport being Lord Krishna here answers Uddhava's question concerning the correct procedure, nature, and object of meditation for those desiring liberation. One should then pull the consciousness back from all the limbs of the transcendental body. At that time, one should meditate only on the wonderfully smiling face of the Lord. Being established in meditation on the Lord's face, one should then withdraw the consciousness and fix in the sky. Then, giving up such meditation, one should become established in me and give up the process of meditation altogether. One who has completely fixed his mind on me should see me within his own soul and should see the individual soul within me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, he sees the individual soul united with the Supreme Soul, just as the one sees the sun's rays and completely united with the sun. In this way, there in the purport, great detail, Prabhupada is making that point. So, for a devotees, it is not possible in this Kali Yuga. This process is not possible to meditate. There also the form of the Lord only described meditation, even though our super soul, but then The form of the Lord is described as Krishna is describing here. But this is not possible in Kali Yuga. To practice this, especially the pranayam, is great difficulty. Even if we attain pranayam, pratyahara is the most difficult. And we have seen, in comparison to Vishwamitra and Saubhara Muni, we are nothing. Hmm. That is not even Kali Yuga. Before, imagine if they themselves fell down, what is our position in reaching those levels and then controlling? It's not possible for Kali Yuga. So that's why we must practice. This is just to give the highest position of the result and the position of the devotees, process of Kevala Bhakti, pure Bhakti. Even if you perform Mishra Bhakti, but we should come to the pure Bhakti. But in this kind of yoga is not possible. But one lesson, as I mentioned, one must understand the lesson is withdrawing the senses from sense objects, pratyahar, in terms of using the process of bhakti, engaging various limbs, physical service, chanting, hearing, reading. So these are the various aspects of bhakti one must engage. So then we can become like Gopakumar. We can also enter. It is not impossible. It is possible. It is in our own hands what we want to do. So we want to be in this material world, or we want to really gain entrance like Gopakumar. How he is able to see Lord Krishna and Yasodamai, the cows and the bird, the whole conversation in Goloka Vrindavan, what he has gone through. We all can go through the same situation, provided we follow in the footsteps of Gopakumar. Then we will be by surrendering to a spiritual master, by following the process of bhakti, then gradually we'll be able to attain to that level. By being in this material world, also we'll be able to come to that internal blissful state, and we'll be able to cross over this material world and enter into spiritual world. So we just need to follow Yati Parda Anuchintayan by following the previous acharyas, spiritual masters. Then only it is possible. Otherwise, it is not possible. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.